layers. So if you want to play on the fairground ride of this is all, you know, we live in a universe and this is all planets, then that's fine. If you want to play on the fairground ride, this is a flat Earth or a flat place, and we live in a sphere, then you can play on that ride, or whatever you want to kind of come up with, and that's the key. So the thing is, if ascension is coming, you've got to say, how is it then coming? Because it's so we are manifesting that as a layer. So if we're so that's as a layer. If we're manifesting that as a layer, then we can manifest whatever we want. Now I know in the void as a layer and a perception. In the film with, I can't remember his name, the comedian played Mork, Robin Williams.
Yeah.
He made this really interesting film about death. Well, he didn't make the film, but he was in it.
What things might come?
Yeah, and there's a scene in it where he passes over to go and get his wife. He finds a way of doing it. When he arrives there, he's in the void. But the void is whatever you want it to be. So he's created like a cottage and flowers and lovely people, and there are all sorts of creatures, and it's just beautiful. And he starts to forget why he's there. And I think for some reason he's reminded. That's right, I think he's in a coma, I think. In induced coma or something like that. But what's interesting about that is I very much took the concept of how you would be in a state of absolute manifestation. Whatever you think of, you can create. So which comes back to this original idea of fluidic thinking creates fluidic matter. Rigid thinking creates rigid matter.
Yeah.
Which I think is important because that's a very solid piece of information. And it's also useful. So the reason I say that is because we know what's going to happen, but we're kidding ourselves to say that we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, when you read a book, and you go, oh, I'm not going to read the end of it, so I spoil the story. So you don't read the end of it. But we already have read the end of it. We know what the end of it is.
We write the book.
We write the book.
So we read the book going, la la la, I don't know the ending, la la la, I don't know the ending.
So, and you can feel it. You can feel it if there's a solar flare and people don't know what that is, and it's like, sounds a bit scary. They're all drama-y and panicky.
So, for the channel, It was actually Val that sent that through, but there was a people have been talking about it. I didn't have my eye on it because I was doing other things. And we were saying, pardon me, what's really interesting, and sometimes the solar activity coincides with spikes on the Schumann, but this one, so we had a big spike, a 21-hour, I did a video on it, 21-hour spike in the Schumann. It was white, 21 hours, huge, massive frequency, yeah. No solar activity that could possibly, like, correlate. And then Tuesday, we get this huge, massive X1 solar flare. Funny enough, the Schumann's been quiet. It's really interesting how you can see that working. So huge shifting in the collective consciousness on Saturday, and we create this massive X1 solar flare on Tuesday. Because the more and more people that get on this path, well, it's facilitating these massive upgrades, if you like. I just wanted to backfill that bit.
So, I would say that I mean there are levels of this perception. Some people are not even aware of it, and some
absolutely.
people are kind of aware of it.
But it's like it's in there. It's like a little bit back from the peripheral vision.
Yeah, and where, please. Thank you. And where that's important is almost that. I mean, I've had this for years of, why are we here? And from that, I extrapolated. Well, there are two groups of energy asking you stuff. Yeah. So one is the Mother Earth herself, as a consciousness speaking to you. Yeah. The reason I'm saying it that way is because that's another little thing you can pick up and start to speak with the consciousness of Mother Earth. And then the second one is society and what society is representing. And society asks an awful lot of you, depending on your perception. But Mother Nature just asks you to do the basic things. Eat, drink.
And I had a very, very, very clear vision when I was in the kitchen this morning. So we know that the planet as it is at the moment isn't how it would naturally be.
Yeah.
Eden looks nothing like this. Eden is like, it's almost like it's just green.
Eden being
It's
a representation of the bliss world.
Yeah. So I don't know, I just got this really clear vision of it was a feeling as well of when New Earth isn't going to be, it's just going to be nothing like what we know now, nothing whatsoever. The way we live, it's going to be nothing like it. It's just going to be so far from what we know now, because we wouldn't prepare meals. There'd be none of this. Oh, I'm having breakfast. I need to prepare something for breakfast. You just go out and pick something off a tree or off a bush. If that. I'd say that's probably an interim thing, because in our natural state, you wouldn't need to eat or drink. It would just be entertaining to do so.
Well, I mean, Eden, because that's kind of a trigger word for a lot of people. I actually like the words. I've looked it up, and it's a representation of a perfect world, if you like. But my understanding of it is that you create that inside. The garden is inside you, and you tend to that garden. You know, we've spoken many times of how you do that. You know, it's very simple. 6 different things: mentally, what's that? Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, metaphysically, and abundantly. And you work on those things to reach your bliss, your natural frequency. So you might do yoga, or you might do meditation, or you might walk in nature, or you're at peace. So when you're at peace, you're in bliss. And when you're in bliss, you're in your garden of...
Your Garden of Eden.
Your Garden of Eden. So the reason that's important is that that's what you will manifest outside. Whereas if you do the opposite of that, if you're in pain or fear, then that's what you'll manifest outside. And people always, I don't know, through my life I've always had a lot of people say, well, oh, Ian, you're so laid back, or I remember when I was a kid, they used to say, you're so laid back and you're going to fall over. And I'd say, well, what's there to get really stressed about? And I could never understand what people were getting all animated and stressed about, and why their thing is important and mine is not important, because they would dismiss it. And you know, it wasn't until later that I realised. I think it's a funny thing that made me realise it was like the advent of EastEnders, because I'd never really watched a soap opera like that. It's so depressing. I'd watch things like when Eminem would watch Crossroads, and what else did she? I think that's all she heard of. She didn't watch
Emmerdale Farm back in the day.
No, was that Emmerdale was ITV? Was it? She didn't watch ITV. She only watched the BBC. So yeah, she used to watch Crossroads, or was that ITV? That might have been ITV.
Can't remember.
But anyway, she used to watch Crossroads. But anyway, when EastEnders, and I realised that the acting thing, the drama, the immense power that this program had coming into everyone's living room every evening, virtually, when it first started. Well, as it went on. And you were like sort of saying, oh, I can't wait till the next episode. What's going to happen? Is Dirty Den going to reappear? Is, what's her name? Angie? Is she going to throw that, you know? Oh my God. And what I realised was, this is the story, the hero's journey, the archetypes playing out, where you are under a form of hypnosis. Sleeping Beauty puts everyone to sleep through media, through TV. And I realised that I was asleep, and the thing that woke me up, it kept waking me up, was my art. And the thing about art that relates to this kind of talk is you're manifesting. When you're creating a piece of artwork, you're manifesting something that's inside, outside. it's a very unusual. It's a peculiar process actually. So the reason I'm saying that is, if you take something as a literal thing, that's rigid thinking. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use that to your advantage. So, for example, when we say something like, I don't know, I don't know, you want, there's something you want in life. So it's either you want to be something, you want to meet somebody, or you want to have a certain experience. Yeah. That it starts inside, in the Garden of Eden. Now, if the Garden of Eden is not intended to, you're inside. So it's only a metaphor. It's just like the idea of inside is a beautiful place where you can go and work out things. Yeah. But if it's a horrible, hateful place, then
you're not going to want to be there.
Yeah, and it might not even be your fault that it's like that. You know, there's a lot of programming going on with your experiences from childhood, or relationships and stuff like that. So, but nonetheless, you can still work on it. But the point is that, so for example, if there's something that you want to be that's impossible, well, it seems impossible to achieve, yeah. All you have to do is you go into your inside, and you start telling yourself that you are that very thing. But you have to be precise, and we worked this out yesterday, where we were talking about, I think we did record that, where we were talking about the effect, the special effect that you're experiencing, and how do you affect that special effect?
Yeah.
So it would be a special effect or an effect that affects the effect.
Yeah.
Because the effect would affect the effect, which you can then affect. So it would be something like, I was born into a family that are not very wealthy, for example. That's an effect. Then the effect is that they're not very wealthy, but you want to be wealthy. How do you then affect that? And that seems impossible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But you start it inside. So the key to it is the precise thing that you want, and then you focus on that precise thing. So if it's, I don't know, let's say,
Well, I think the three kind of things that people want. They want their health to be good, they want their abundance to be good, and they want their their mind to, be peaceful.
Yeah, well, Tony Robbins talks about the basic human need is to, the basic human condition is either in pain or in pleasure. So we essentially pleasure seek, which is our natural frequency. No one wants to be in pain. Or in fear. You want to be in pleasure and joy. So that's kind of the basic form of that. So how that works within like solar flares and things like that is, if you create, I'd say the Garden of Eden is almost the layers that we're talking about. It's almost that concept sort of comes in a sort of back doorway, in a very kind of sort of mischievous, I'm not here but I'm here way. But you're essentially planting your seeds, aren't you? And see if they grow within the layers. Because I see them in front of me up sort of quite high. I'll just put that on there, and I'll put that there. Well, that's interesting. I'll put that there. I can come back to it. I don't have to dismiss any of it. The reason that helps is because if you're living in a world that is manifestation, and there are effects that affect, but you can affect the effects, then you've got to be open to all ideas and concepts, ones that are already known, but also at the same time, you kind of want to see that as a distraction and be focusing on new ones that you've never seen before.
Which is that receptive mode to let those new things come in.
Yeah. So let's say, I don't know, you're in a job and you, I don't know, work in a supermarket or something like that, and you don't want to do that. You're just doing that for money. You're not happy doing it. And there's lots of people that do those sorts of things. Lots of people that enjoy that.
Mm.
But let's say you're one that doesn't. And your dream job is to be, I don't know,
you want to be an artist?
Yeah, or a singer, or whatever it is, whatever your dream is that you want, get precise and exactly what you want. If you can get precise and exactly what you want, then you just become that inside. You start saying, that's who I am.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm, Jackie, who works in the supermarket at this moment in time. I'm now changing that to Jackie, who is, a very popular singer in demand.
Mm.
Yeah. And your effects will start to change outside. You start to see Jackie starting to develop this persona that's inside. So it's a persona. This is what we get into the occult and the witchcraft. And you start to develop that because your focus is then on that and you're affecting that. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%.
Because you can't affect Jackie outside because Jackie's not out there, so to speak.
Jackie is inside.
If you're working on yourself. And you can see that if you look at outside inside example would be someone who says, you've got a real talent now. Oh yeah, what's happening? You're a good singer, you're a good artist, etc. Right? And they go, now I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy, working in the supermarket. But you've got a real talent, really. Yeah, you could go well with that.
You could go far with that, yeah.
What's the supermarket going to offer you? Well, not really. I just do it for money. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll help you. Yeah, I'll do a bit of ringing around. I'll have a search, see if we can get you like a gig or something. Oh, all right then. A couple of months later, I've got you a gig. Really? Where is it? Oh, blah blah. Pub or something. In the evening, so make sure you're free in your shifts. And the person, so that person has now moved from being, Bert who works in a supermarket, but also in the evenings is Bert who is a singer, yeah. And let's say Bert, I don't know, starts to think, I'm really loving this. Their focus is on, and they get more gigs, and they become more popular and more in demand. Because like fame, or the idea of fame, isn't something which is a goal. It's just something that goes with popularity. Like the more people that you know, the more that you're recognised. The more that you're recognised, the more you feel like, well, you would call it fame. You're famous. It's a spell, isn't it? It's a magical word. And then if you sign a record deal or something like that, they will promote you as the singer and so on. And then eventually, you become the persona that you wanted to be. But all the time, at that start point was inside you. What I want to be is inside me.
Yeah.
That's the effect. That's the thing that you can affect. I want to see it outside. So it's a bit of a topsy-turvy to say, well, if you're just thinking about it inside, how can that come outside? But that's the very way that you do it, and you live and breathe it. I know that with artists, like my genre is art, and artists, they live and breathe art. They are constantly
as
working
within, so without.
About, yeah. And this is the same with solar flares and things like that. So we don't even have to argue. We don't need to argue about, is the sun doing what it's doing? Well, yeah, in perceptions, yeah. Some people are saying it, some people are not saying it. Some people think it's important, some people don't think it's important. Some people think it scientifically, some people don't think it scientifically.
And I saw, because on the spaceweather.com, there's a forum on there, and someone was, there were rumblings about this X1 solar flare happening on Saturday. So Saturday, that we were doing the that massive thing happened. Actually, it was starting to do something. The sun was starting to do something on that Saturday. And someone posted a picture of a solar flare. I don't think it was the one that happened, but it was, and it had a shape like a rune. And this rune, what it means is offerings, yeah. And this guy was, it just a couple of sentences saying, you know, does anyone else find this interesting? That, you know, it looks like a rune. And this very scientific person came up and said, do you know why it's shaped like that? Would you like to know? And the original guy didn't answer, but someone else did and said, oh yeah, I'd like to know. And he said, it's because of the lenses and the blah blahs, that's why it makes that shape. And I thought, wow, you have this science guy had no, that's super rigid thinking. It's like he's not even open to the fact that it could be something else.
Well, it is something else to that person's perception.
Yeah.
Because everything's come together to give that perception, whether it's through lenses or what have you. You have to create the lenses.
Yeah, exactly. There's a chain of events that happen in order for that solar flare to take the shape of a rune.
Yeah. In that specific one.
Yeah.
So I think you know, I suppose what this circular conversation is about is you are in the driving seat, yeah, and it's your perception of what you're seeing. And if you attend to inside your Garden of Eden, which is my perception, that's how I see inside, with those 6 things, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, metaphysically, and abundantly, and you align with love consciousness, so aligning with love consciousness is your own frequency, then you take on board things like, so if you know that you have within that you can plant seeds, so you can take any concept or idea and just go, well, I'll just pop it there, it's interesting. And they develop and grow and wither or die. You can be anything, you can become anything, you can change anything. And that's kind of where you want to be, because you're a being of light, yeah, as a layer. You're a super being as a layer. You're a cosmic being as a layer. Whatever it is that you want to perceive yourself as being. You know, I'm a super artist, or I'm a super singer, or because those things bring, you know, joy. They bring pleasure. They bring peace. They bring fun. They bring a sense of freedom. And that's essentially what I think what we're doing. A lot of the yogis we'll talk about the idea of liberation and freeing yourself from the mirage, the created world, the Maya, the idea of everything is imaginary. Yeah? And you can free yourself from that. And the way that you free yourself from that is by not connecting to any of it. You just observe it and you just go, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. And you just put it up as layers.
Yeah.
And you can play on those, which is the Hathor thing. So the whole Maya concept, from the Hathor's perspective, is it's a big fairground, it's a big playground, it's huge, entertaining things that you can do and be involved in, and they're all drama. A lot of them are drama driven. And some of them you get on and you think, actually, I'd like to get off this now.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Stop the bus, I want to get off.
And the nature of it is, that's a perception, it's a strong perception. Debt is one of those, because we're talking about debt. Yeah, but it's not real. And that's all the understanding is when you are experiencing a drama and a effect, yeah, all you need is the awareness to say, well, this is not real. It feels real because of the special effects.
And the emotional attachments to those things.
Yeah, and that's the sentience from beings who are perpetuating a particular drama to the ones receiving that particular drama, or the beings who are running the ride and the beings who are on that ride. But in your mind, you can come off it. That's essentially the self-liberation. My awareness is that it is imaginary. I have an understanding that it's imaginary. It feels very real. It looks very real. But that's because it's a very good ride. Yeah?
And that's because we are powerful creators. That's why it seems so real.
And the way to affect that ride is to affect it with another effect. So if you're very precise about that, so if you're in lack, then focus on being in abundance, no matter what. And then that will manifest outside. But it's the more difficult place to come from because you're trying to create the new ride that you want to get on. It's there because we can see it. We can see other people on that ride.
Yeah.
That's when we say, oh, I'd like to go on that ride. I want to be on that ride. Yeah. How can I get on that ride? Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm on this ride. Yeah. And that's all it is. Just be very focused on exactly what you want and then focus on that. So and it is that simple. If I'm in lack, what do you want to be? So if you want to be in abundance, then focus on abundance and nothing else. Yeah. And then that is inside, and then that will manifest outside. The power that you use to drive that is the power of everything that ever was, is, and will be, or love consciousness, which is your natural frequency. And that will drive that. That will manifest itself outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an oxymoron. Sorry, it's a topsy-turvy to say that the very thing that you'll get is, I don't know, this amazing thing that you want is the thing that will give you the peace. That's not what it is. You get the peace instantly. That's the beauty of this kind of modality, that you align with your natural frequency or love consciousness, and you get that peace instantly. You let go. But also at the same time, you start being creative in relation to what it is that you want to achieve, and you attract the love consciousness to you. You'll attract the people that have love consciousness. You'll attract the environments.
Because it's a direct mirror.
Yeah, of where love consciousness expresses itself.
And you know where that's interesting? So, I can't remember if it was last year or if it was in 2020, but on one of our marsh walks, we actually vocalised out loud on the marshes, because it's a powerful tool. We actually said out loud what it is that we were postulating, what, New Earth, 5D, whatever, the ascension, what it would look like out there. Do you remember that?
Mm.
And we made it very clear what, we kind of expected, if you like, from, this ascension energy. And what's really interesting is we're seeing it unfolding. It's quieter. We're not really coming up against a lot of angry people. And we used to get heckled, if you like, in the street just for being us. We don't see that anymore, do we?
No.
We really don't. The colours out in nature are phenomenal. And even when we're sitting up next to the barrier by the Thames, when we do our walk, so I don't know, it astounds me every time we sit there and I look around. It's like, whoa, it is so green. It is indescribably green.
And then that falls on the other thing that we've developed, which is expectation. So if you expect to, I don't know, see something which isn't quite what you wanted, not quite the ascension or the way that it's doing, then that's expectation. So if you look at your expectation, expect the exact thing that you have ordered from yourself or you're manifesting. So
I've got something there. So when you're practicing the expectation, are your expectations in alignment with your idea of what ascension looks like, or what you are being told it is by your higher self, spirit, whatever that is?
Yeah, that's the topography. That's the topography of spirituality, if you like. Yeah, and all that requires is just being focused on that in between bit. So the effect affects. How does the effect affect the effect? Yeah. So it does it by being very focused on the topography of exactly what you want to manifest. Yeah. So it'd be something like, well, it's already manifested. That would be a bit of topography. But not quite how I wanted it. That means that you wasn't sure on exactly what you wanted. Right? Because, like, let's say you want to be a writer, or you want to be a dancer, or you want to be a singer, or whatever it is that you want to be. Well, you can do that instantly. You can start singing, you can start writing, you can start dancing. Yeah. So, if you want to be a famous, wealthy dancer, singer, writer, then that's the very thing that you should be focusing on, not the I'm a dancer, because you can do that instantly. So they go together. It's not like you don't focus on both. You focus on the preciseness of that aspect of yourself that you want to evolve. But where does that end up? So if you want to be, I don't know, a famous, wealthy singer, then that's the precise thing that you should focus on. Not, I just want to be a singer. Because anyone can sing. I can sing in the front room. I'm a singer. Yeah. And as I say, lots of artists, they live and breathe that. They create that persona. They create that person who they want to be, and you can do that instantly. By if it's not a physical thing that you can do. So, for example, I want to be a person who lives in Scotland, in the Highlands, and I have, a passive income which allows me to go walking regularly every day. Yeah, that'd be a difficult thing to go into because you'd have to move to Scotland, have the passive income, and then be able to walk every day. Yeah, so you can create that inside. You create that inside. That persona is within inside. So some people will say to me, "What about if you're disabled or something like that?" Well, if you're disabled, there's no reason why you can't entertain the idea of the newness of something. So is a disability something that you can actually change, or is that something which is a rigid thinking? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've worked with people with disabilities, and there are different kinds of people with disabilities. There's very proactive people with disabilities, and there's very inactive people with disabilities.
And reactive as well.
Reactive.
Yeah.
And I've met some quadriplegic people with disabilities who absolutely epitomise a sense of joy and peace and love. Yeah. And those people, the ones I've met, not all of them, some of them, have people around them. They've manifested people around them who take them around the world, who take them on amazing adventures and stuff like that. So it is the rigid thinking, and the fluidic thinking, and the awareness of that, which is really, really important. And if you go fluidic thinking, you will have fluidic
experiences,
matter, and experiences. So you'll meet fluidic people, you'll meet fluidic experiences, you'll meet fluidic environments. Yeah? But if you have rigid thinking, then you'll meet rigid people and you'll meet rigid experiences and environments. Or not, as the case may be, because even myself, I'd have to say, let's put it up as a layer, and that's a possibility, because you have to do that to then allow new thinking to come in and say, haha.
Because in the void space, anything and everything is possible.
Yeah. So, anyway, we'll bring that circular conversation to its fulfillment, and I suppose I'd finish on focus. Focus and attention. Where is your focus and attention being pulled? Are you focused on yourself? Do you have attention on yourself in your great work? Or is it being pulled into other people's dramas, other people's perceptions? Yeah, as a layer. And if you've got awareness of that, then that gives you an amazing sense of empowerment. Because then once you're aware of drama dharma, you can not participate in that drama dharma.
Don't feed it.
Or you can. If that experience, person, environment is coming from a place of love, then you'll have a sense of joy when you participate with those people, places and experiences. One comes to mind, which is I've been to Hare Krishna restaurant and I've had a great time. Lovely people, lovely environment, lovely experience.
Mm.
And I'm sure everyone's got an example of that. Oh, we did that, we had a great time, lovely people, lovely experience. We had a recent example of that with some friends, just had a little baby. And their experience was about the staff there. Yeah. Lovely people, lovely experience, lovely environment.
Yeah.
So, and they are actually very peaceful people, very kind people. And they are actually very peaceful, kind people. You can see that in their physical appearance, in the way that they talk, and the way that they handle themselves. So yeah, that's kind of what I would finish on. Be very aware of where your focus and attention is being drawn, and bring it back to yourself, because when you vibrate at your natural frequency, which is love consciousness, as a layer, and then that affects everything that's around you, and it will draw the things to you. So someone's ascension could be fire and brimstone, whereas another person's ascension might be immense beauty. That's where I finish with that circle of conversation.
Okay. So, yeah, as always, blessings to you all. And the usual subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. And we'll see you very soon. Blessings all.